days, and also for his generous introduction, which shows that he's been around a long time.
A few years.
Shall we change our mother or just go right into it?
You could go right into it if you'd
Okay.
like to, Prabhu.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to chant, you may do that as well.
I think we'll go into it. How many here have read the entire Bhagavad Gita, cover to cover? No? Not yet? So for those who are new or fairly new to the Gita, we always like to point out what is the subject matter, and then we can try to appreciate the section that we're reading from tonight. But I will just first of all offer my respects to my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tidamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesh Tarine. So these prayers are known as pranam mantras. When you may see, not just in our society, but other places where people put their palms together, this is called the Anjali Mudra. And when you put your palms together like that, and you bow to someone, that's called offering pranams. But it's not just an empty gesture, it should be done out of real appreciation. So that prayer, which was given to us by Srila Prabhupada himself, because at the time when I joined in 1973, I was 21 years old. The movement had started here in 66, it was incorporated here in New York. So the oldest devotee was a 7-year-old devotee. So, but when Prabhupada came in 65, first landed in New York, no one in America knew anything about pranam mantras. And as Prabhupada himself pointed out, there were many, many editions of the Bhagavad Gita in English, extant, existing at that point, but there were no devotees of Krishna. You didn't see any Hare Krishnas anywhere. People were looking at the Bhagavad Gita as a nice philosophical book, and such persons were amongst the first that Prabhupada met when he came back to New York. He first went to Butler, Pennsylvania, then he came back to New York, and he started speaking amongst such persons, persons who would gather in a room, nice place, and discuss Bhagavad Gita, hear from somebody like Srila Prabhupada, but then after the lecture, they would go outside and smoke or have some brandy or something. You know, in other words, they were armchair philosophers. They weren't really looking for instructions on how to live life and what life is all about. What is the highest goal we can achieve? So the Bhagavad Gita is meant for that purpose. It's like the written or instructive manual for how to live life in this world. What this universe is meant for, and what our lives are meant for. So the Bhagavad Gita, if you've been following along from the beginning to this point, in the introduction it mentions that it covers 5 subject matters. So the first one is Ishvara. Ishvara means controller. And every one of us has some kind of control in our life over something, someone. If we try and fail to control other persons, then we at least get a pet that we control a dog or a cat or some goldfish or whatever. But we have this controlling tendency, but where does that come from? It comes from the supreme source of everything, God, or we would say Krishna. So because God has the inalienable right to control, because everything is coming from Him, everything belongs to Him. This we find out from the Upanishads, that everything animate and inanimate in this world is controlled and owned by the Lord. And therefore, you and I as individuals, we have a right to take what's necessary for our existence, but not more than that. So because God has that inalienable right to control, His parts and parcels also have the tendency to control. Prabhupada used to say you can start to understand God by studying yourself. What are your tendencies? What do you like to do, not like to do? So we try to exert control. Some of us, again, like I said, we can't control other people, so we have a pet. Some people have a company of 10,000 employees or more that they control. Some people are ostensibly controllers of an entire country, nation. But ultimately, our control at whatever level is temporary. But there is a supreme controller of everything and everyone. So that's Krishna. So Ishvara is that first topic. Then the next topic is Jiva. Jiva means the living entity. All of us, we are living entities. We can't deny that. We're alive at this point. We're here. And we are entities, separate entities. I'm not you, you're not me, even though some songs were like that, right? I am you, you're me, we're all together. Yeah, no, it's not true. I'm not you, you're not me. We're separate. I remember when I first came in contact with Krishna consciousness, I was still a student studying civil engineering, but my real business was partying and dabbling in controlled substances. So I remember the one and only time I ever tried LSD. And I went back to school, and I was also, you could say, they say in Europe, a sportsman, somebody who likes to play games. So I used to play basketball. Just good enough to practice with the varsity team at the college, but not good enough to be on the team. And I remember literally going to the gym and thinking that I was in control of everybody. Now this guy's gonna take a shot, and by my mental control, I'm gonna make him miss. Like that, so. We trip like that, literally, we trip. We're tripping in this world, thinking that we're in control, that we can control this and that, and it's a trip, it's not a fact. And that painful reality is driven upon us at the time of death, because everything that we tried to control in our whole lives remains, and we go away. It's not that when I die that my house all of a sudden disappears or my car breaks down, no. Everything that I owned or controlled up to that point remains. I am the one that leaves. I leave the body behind, I leave the house behind, the wife or husband or children or whatever. Everything is left behind and we are taken somewhere else. So that's one of the subjects that we're going to get to in this 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme. So Ishvara, Jiva, then Prakriti. Prakriti means this material energy that we are existing in. The main takeaway from studying the material energy is that it's endlessly mutable, which means it's constantly changing. You cannot say that everything here now is going to stay like this forever. It's not. It's not. The air is changing, our bodies are changing, everything is changing. What we see outside the window is definitely changing at every second. So many vehicles are going by. So everything is changing in this material world. But because we're originally from the spiritual world where everything is permanent, we can never find satisfaction here. Because in order to be satisfied, you have to have a fixed situation that you can rely on. And we try to recreate that here, but it doesn't work. Because on any level, the things that we depend on materially, like cars and houses, and they break, they fall apart. The relationships that we establish and we try to get juice and satisfaction out of, they also change, fall apart, right? Today's friend can be tomorrow's bitterest enemy. So things are always changing here, not always for the good. So Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, the material energy that we're trying to enjoy, but we can't because it's always changing. And then Kala. Kala means time. Time is the force that's driving all that change. In the material world, time is appreciated in 3 phases: past, present, and future. So whatever is gone, we can't change. And our plans for the future have no guarantee of fructifying. So in the great sages, they recommend that you concentrate on the present. Do something now that will make your future better, really better, not just on a temporary basis, but something that will really improve your future lot beyond this body. And then the last of the 5 is karma. Karma means activity. And we are all active, either in a gross or subtle way. Even if we're sitting here right now, not even moving a muscle, but the mind is working. And the mind is actually the seat of future activity. In other words, what you're thinking now, like we say, thinking leads to feeling, leads to willing, leads to action. So if you're thinking of doing something, going somewhere, whatever, and you keep thinking, you develop an attraction. Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, and then you put it into practice, into action. So these are the 5 subject matters. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, not that Arjuna didn't know. Arjuna is a devotee of Krishna. He's such a close devotee that wherever Krishna goes, Arjuna goes with him. But for the purpose of edifying those of us in this world who don't know what's going on. I remember also at that time in the 70s, we used to have a phrase that there are only 2 classes of people: those who make things happen and those who are still wondering what happened. So what do you want to be? The kind of person that makes something happen, or the one that's always wondering what's going on? So Krishna is edifying us so that we become part of that first class. Make something happen, at least in your own life. Try to take control of your life. Don't just let things happen to you. Take control of your life so that you make things happen that are best for you. So, let me get my glasses here. So in the beginning, Krishna has explained that not only is he eternal, but Arjuna and all the kings that were assembled on this battlefield of Kurukshetra, they're all eternal, which means by extension, all of us, we are eternal. Now that should come as good news. We're fearful on an ongoing basis because we are not self-realized. We're not fully aware of the fact that we are eternal beings. We see everything around us as being temporary. Our relationships, our jobs, our homes, our car, everything is temporary. So I start feeling that I'm also temporary, that there's a time limit to my existence. But there isn't. There's a time limit to the body. Yes, can't deny that. But there's no time limit to our existence. We did not come into being when we were born from the womb of the current person who we identify with as mother. We existed before that. And when this body is finished, we will continue to exist. So if we really allow those facts to sink in, even theoretically, then we start to rise above this platform of fearful existence. And due to fear, it's one of the driving forces why people have so many negative interactions. I'm afraid of my future, I'm afraid that you're going to negatively impact my future, and therefore I want to do something about it now. And all the fighting and everything that comes along with that. So, after explaining that basic fact, we're not these bodies, we're eternal beings, and therefore we should start to feel some enlightenment due to that, then Krishna explains about karma, activity, what things we should do, what we should not do. And this is the beginning of any yoga path. This path that we're on is called Bhakti Yoga. There are other forms of yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Kriya Yoga, like that. But they all start out with these 2 concepts, things that should be done and things that should not be done, called yama and niyama in Sanskrit. Things that one should do if one wants to be a yogi, yogini, one has to do certain things. And if you want, again, to be on the yoga platform solidly, then there are things you should avoid. So Krishna explains how to live in such a way that our natural tendency to act will give us, again, the best result, not entangle us in ongoing anxiety and misery. Now, we've come to the point in this 8th chapter where Krishna is explaining how to make a permanent solution, how to get out of here, not just to exist nicely, calmly, like many people, especially those who are more influenced by the mode of goodness, they want to do that. They want to live a calm, peaceful existence, which is very difficult in the age that we're living in. It's very, very difficult. You can go to the most remote place in the world at this point, and almost guaranteed some airplane is going to fly over. It's not like hundreds of years ago where you could actually find remote villages or places, caves in a mountain. And nowadays you go to a cave in a mountain, you see graffiti. Literally, I mean, it's amazing. Switzerland is known as one of the cleanest countries in the world. And I've been there many times. And I remember taking a train from Italy going to Switzerland, high up in the mountains, going through a mountain tunnel, and there was graffiti. I'm thinking, who in the world you know, goes into a train tunnel, which is just very little space? You know, any moment a train can come and goes there with spray paint and makes graffiti on a train tunnel in the Swiss Alps. So that's the age that we're living in. There's no place that's immune from disturbance. Everywhere you go, you can be disturbed. And to properly practice yoga, one should try to live an undisturbed life. Now, one can be undisturbed at all times if one is Krishna conscious. So that's one of the tenets that we're learning here in this 8th chapter. So if everybody has the book, we should try to chant the verse together, and then we'll read Prabhupada's translation and purport. So chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, text number 17. So Krishna says, actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to take this. I like to hold the mic.
You want
Yeah,
to?
yeah, I just want to hold the mic.
Unravel it. Is it good?
If you can move that, yeah, just put it on the side there. Now I can actually see. Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Aharyan Brahmano Biduhu
Aharyat Brahmano Vidu
Ratring Yoga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Teho Ratra Vido Jana
Teho Ratra Vidojana
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Aharyan Brahmano Biduhu
Aharyat Brahmano Vidu
Ratring Yoga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Teho Ratra Vido Jana
Teho Ratra Vidojana
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Aharyan Brahmano Biduhu
Aharyat Brahmano Vidu
Ratring Yoga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Teho Ratra Vido Jana.
Teho Ratra Vidojana
So give it a shot, please chant.
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Aharyat Brahmano Vidu
Aharyat Brahmano Vidu
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Teho Ratra Vidojana
Teho Ratra Vidojana Sahasra Yoga Pratyam
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Aharyat Brahmanya Vidu
Aharyan Brahmano Biduhu
Ratrim Yoga Saharstyam
Ratring Yoga Sahasrantam
Teho Ratra Vidojana
Teho Ratra Vido Jana.
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Sahasra Yoga Paryantam
Aharyat Brahmano Viduho
Aharyan Brahmano Biduhu
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam
Horatra Vidojanaha
Teho Ratra Vido Jana. Anyone else want to give it a try? Okay, now one of the reasons why Prabhupada's books are so popular in academic circles is he took the time to give not only the transliteration of the Sanskrit. Bhagavad Gita is originally spoken in Devanagari, in Sanskrit language. So Prabhupada gives the transliteration, which we just read, and then he gives the English synonyms. Or now we've translated most of his books into more than 100 languages, so not just English anymore. You can find French, Spanish, German. So, Sahasra,
Sahasra
1,000.
1,000
Yuga,
Yuga
millenniums.
Millenniums
Paryantam,
Paryantam
including
including
Aha,
Aha
day.
Day
Yat,
Yat
that which
that which
Brahmanaha,
Brahmana
of Brahma,
of Brahma
Viduhu,
Vidu
they know.
they know
Ratrim,
Ratrim,
night.
night.
Yuga,
Yuga,
millenniums.
millenniums.
Sahasra Antam,
Sahasrantam,
similarly ending after 1,000.
similarly ending after 1,000.
Te,
Te,
they.
they.
Aharatra,
Aharatra,
day and night.
day and night.
Vidaha,
Vidaha,
who understand.
who understand.
Janaha,
Jana,
people.
people.
So, Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Please repeat. By human calculation,
By human calculation,
1,000 ages taken together
1,000 ages taken together
form the duration of Brahma's one day,
form the duration of Brahma's one day,
and such also
and such also
is the duration of his night.
is the duration of his night.
Now Srila Prabhupada will give an explanation. Because if you read Bhagavad Gita with just an English translation and no commentary from somebody who knows Bhagavad Gita, then you can walk away not even understanding what's being spoken of here. So Prabhupada is empowered to explain to the whole world the meaning of what Sri Krishna told Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So Prabhupada's commentary. The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion, there being practically no ignorance and vice. And the yuga lasts 1,728,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dwapara Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice, true virtue being practically non-existent, and this yuga lasts 432,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki avatar, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yugas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise one day of Brahma, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years, by earth calculations, total to 311 trillion and 40 billion earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable. But from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahma Loka, which is the highest planet in the material universe and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahma Loka are subject to death, according to the law of material nature. So again, the verse, it says, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. So as Prabhupada points out in the purport, we are 5,000 years into this fourth of the 4 ages. It's a cycle of 4, just like we have typically 4 seasons. We have winter, then spring, then summer, then fall or autumn, and then again winter. Keeps rotating like that. So these ages keep rotating like that. And you could roughly compare them to the seasons. If we start out with spring, let's say. Spring is generally the most pleasant of all 4 seasons. So that will be compared to the Satya Yuga. In that age, people were living to 100,000 years. That was the average lifespan of human beings on this planet. The age differs as you go higher or lower in the universe. The age of a human or human-like person varies. As we heard, Lord Brahma is human-like, not exactly like us. He's got 4 heads, 4 arms. So he's not exactly like a typical human being, but humanoid, human-like. And his duration of life, who remembers from the purport without looking?
311 million. 311 million.
No, 311 trillion.
Trillion, sorry. Trillion, yeah.
Yes. So Lord Brahma is living in excess of 311 trillion of our years. Can you imagine?
It's not even imaginable.
I'll be 73 this month. The oldest living Prabhupada disciple, not by initiation but by age, is His Holiness Amalabhakta Swami, who's residing in the Los Angeles community, New York. He's exactly 20 years older than me. He'll be 93 this month. And we think, wow, 93, old man. It's nothing. 93 is nothing. Any child can multiply 9 by 10. You know, it's like, it's nothing. But we're so programmed in this age to expect very little in life. Very little. We're chasing after just very little in comparison to what's actually available in the universe as a whole, or what's available in the spiritual world. So we think a 93-year-old person is very old. Compare that to Lord Brahma. 311 trillion years he's living. So in the Satya Yuga, the average lifespan for a human being on this planet was 100,000 years. And the recommended process for self-realization, because self-realization, as we have heard in this Bhagavad Gita, is actually the goal of life. To know who you are, who is God, those 5 subjects. Know God, Ishwar, to know yourself, to know, have a good idea of what this material nature is all about so you don't go chasing after it as a source of happiness. To understand Kala, how time is working. And then also, all of that, if you understand those 4, then you will engage in the right activities, karma. You'll select the right things to do in life that don't entangle you in further misery in this world. So, 100,000 years was the average lifespan, and in that age, the recommended process for becoming enlightened, spiritually enlightened, for making spiritual progress was this Ashtanga Yoga, where one would sit in yogic posture in a sacred place, sanctified place, and Haribo, how are you? Come on in. Good to see you. Amazing that you would show up tonight. Hare Krishna. His father is my dearly departed godbrother named Hayagriva, who was Prabhupada's first editor, right here. As a matter of fact, you must know the story. When Prabhupada first met his father, he was not yet initiated. It was Howard Wheeler was his name. So Prabhupada asked him, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm an English professor." So Prabhupada said, "Oh, can you edit a manuscript for me?" So Prabhupada gave him a manuscript to type and edit. So I like to tell, as I travel around the ISKCON world, I'll tell you about my latest trip at the end of the class. Editing was started by Prabhupada. It's not that we forced Prabhupada to edit his books. He forced us to edit his books. Why? Because he wanted his books to be polished to a certain standard that they would be accepted by intelligent people, especially in academic circles. So I agree with Prabhu, who was the first editor of Prabhupada's books. Anyway, as we were saying, in the Satya Yuga, the recommended process for becoming self-realized was this Ashtanga Yoga, which Krishna mentioned back in the 6th chapter. That you have to find a sacred place, you have to get deer skin and sit in a certain posture, eyes half closed. If you close them all the way, you'll fall asleep. If they're too wide open, you'll see everything that's happening around you and be disturbed. So half closed eyes and like that, assuming the right asanas and meditating, not on something void, not on your, things that you want materially in the future, but meditating on the Supreme, either personal or impersonal, meditating on something spiritual. Now, the impersonal path is not recommended because it's very difficult. Krishna explains in the 14th chapter, Klesha Dikkarastesham, Abhyakta Saktachetasam, that to meditate on something impersonal, we have nothing but experience of personality in our lives. We even give impersonal objects personal names. Just like I just came back from a trip. I was in Slovenia, Croatia, and Spain. And not just in Croatia, but everywhere around the world, practically, people refer to the sea as mother. Why? Why? Or we talk about sun god in every culture around the world, going back tens of thousands of years. For instance, the Aborigines are said to have been in Australia for the last 60,000 years. So they believed in a sun god, they believed in a wind god, they believed in a god of the ocean. And that's true everywhere you went around the world, or you still go, like Africa, of course, more recently the Greeks, Romans, they all have these. Well, maybe there really is a god of the sun. It's not just because they didn't have any internet back then. It's not that, you could say, I think I saw a sun god, so let me send a message to somebody in Rome and see what they think. No. All around this planet, everybody came to the same conclusion. There were gods in control of natural phenomena. So anyway, in the Satya Yuga, meditating on personal, the super soul in the heart, that was a recommended process for becoming self-realized. And because they lived for 100,000 years, they could meditate for 10, 20, 30,000 years. Just like we're living 100 years max. We just said, Amala Bhakta Maharaj will be 93 this month, and we think he's an old man. But still, out of those 100 years, we are going to school for 20, 25 years, some of us. If you want to be, just like there's one young man in the Brooklyn Temple right now, he's got so many degrees already, and he's still, literally, I just, because I thought I hadn't heard right, so I sat with him again yesterday. I said, tell me again which degrees you have. He has a bachelor's in marketing and finance, he has a bachelor's in law, he has another, then he has a couple of masters, and now he's doing it just goes on and on and on. So he's been in school for practically his whole life. He's only like 28 or something like that. So just like we can take so much time out of 100 years to study, why? Because we think I'll give you an example. Bhajan Rai Maharaj, some of you know, he told me the story. He was in Bangladesh. He used to go to Bangladesh regularly. Now he's not so fit externally, so he doesn't go anymore. But so there was one nice boy coming to the temple, a young man, and he asked him, I see you're coming and you seem very interested in what do you do? Oh, I just got my bachelor's in business. Okay, so what are you going to do next? And I'm going to go back to school and get a master's in business. Why? Well, because if I get a master's, then I can get a really good job. Why? Well, if I get a good job, I can get a nice house and a nice car and get a nice wife. And why? Because I want to be happy. So if you can be happy without going through all that trouble, why not do that? You see, we're driven by this desire to be happy, which is natural, again, because it's there in the Supreme. Krishna is always happy. And it's parts and parcels, you and I, we were meant to be happy at every moment, not just once a week or once in a year when you meet somebody new that you think, no, we're supposed to be happy at every moment. But because we've chosen to live a life that actually creates misery, then we don't experience our natural happy nature. So the whole goal of self-realization is to become happy. So in the Satya Yuga, they were willing to meditate 20, 30,000 years to become happy, to become self-realized. Then gradually, and this is a gradual declination, it's not, and then one age abruptly ends and another one starts. Gradually, the duration of life goes down from 100,000 years to 10,000 years. The next yuga comes in. That's Treta Yuga. So in Treta Yuga, the duration of life is fallen to 10,000 years. The recommended process for self-realization is to perform elaborate sacrifices. Agnihotra. The kings, the leaders of society at that time would build huge arenas, just like we have big stadiums nowadays. People, 50, 60,000 people go to watch a football game. So they would have huge arenas where the citizens would come, and then in the middle of the arena they would have a huge sacrificial pit, and they would have properly trained brahmanas to properly pronounce. We're having trouble with a little Sanskrit here, but they were trained to properly, exactly pronounce the Sanskrit mantras. They were so expert that they could light fire just by chanting a mantra. They didn't need a bhikkhu or, No, there was one Brahmin at least in every sacrifice who was so trained that he could light fire just by chanting a mantra, and the fire would ignite. So it required, again, very skilled, very highly trained, and proper Brahmins with proper character, because if your character is not good, you cannot get the right result. And again, if pronunciation is not good, there's an example in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Chuchaketu when he was cursed by Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva, to become a demon. He came back as Britrasura. So what happened was, there was, long story, but to make it short, there was one person who had developed a grudge against Lord Indra, and he wanted a son who could kill Indra. But because the mantra was not properly recited during the sacrifice, he got a son who was killed by Indra. So if you make just one little mistake in pronunciation, you'll get just the opposite result from what you want. So in that age, again, Treta Yuga, there was elaborate fire sacrifice using real gold utensils and tons of ghee and grains, and very expensive to perform such sacrifices. And the Brahmanas back then were so detached from material possessions that it stated, this is how Arjuna got the name Dhananjaya, you'll hear the name in Bhagavad Gita, that when Yudhishthira wanted to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, it required a lot of wealth. But where to get? They had been living incognito for 1 year, and before that, 13 years in the forest. So where to get money? So Krishna told Arjuna that back in the Treta Yuga, there used to be a king who would perform such elaborate sacrifices, and at the end of the sacrifice, he would reward all the Brahmanas with golden utensils, golden plates, golden spoons. And the Brahmanas were so detached, they were thinking, well, I'm going to take all this weight of gold home with me, and they just threw it. So over time, there became a huge mountain of gold outside the sacrificial arena. So Krishna told Arjuna where to go and find it. And that's why he's called Dhananjaya, the conqueror of wealth. So gradually, Treta Yuga turns into Dwapara Yuga. 10,000 years duration of life becomes 1,000. And in that age, elaborate temple worship was the recommended process for self-realization, God realization. And therefore you find in India, not only in India, all around the world practically, there were these edifices that date back thousands of years where people used to do elaborate worship. Now in India, it was mostly worship of the personal form. Maybe in other cultures, not necessarily personal, but there was elaborate worship going on in temple structures. Just like anybody here been to South America? If you go there, especially you go to Peru, I've been, Machu Picchu, different places all over Central America also, the Inca and Maya civilizations. They've built elaborate temples because that was a process from a previous age. To become God-realized, self-realized, one had to learn how to worship in the temple. And in India especially, they were using real gold, jewelry, and diamonds and rubies, and that's why when Westerners came to India, they were shocked with some of the wealth that they found in these temples, and they stole a lot of it, took it back to Europe. But yes, back in those days, they were using real gold and silver and real diamonds and rubies and for worshiping the deities. Nowadays, we can't do that. First of all, we can't afford it, and it's also dangerous. When Prabhupada started his movement, he told the devotees, no, just use fake jewelry, because people will think that we have money here and they will attack. And it has happened. There was one case in Kenya where one of my godbrothers, he was originally here from New York, black body. So he was serving as Pujari, priest, in a temple in Kenya. I don't remember if it was Mombasa or Nairobi. Anyway, somewhere in Kenya. And the local people thought the brass deities were made of gold. They couldn't tell from outside. They're looking, they see these brass deities, they think this is gold. So they attacked one day. They attacked with machetes. And this devotee was so staunch, he fought them by himself. And they cut one of his arms off, and he still kept fighting, the blood spurting out. And that scared the heck out of him. So they all ran away. But that's why Prabhupada warned us, don't have real gold and, like that. People are envious in Kali Yuga and they'll attack.
Prabhu, can you say the name of that devotee?
Mahavir.
Yes.
Oh, it's Mahavir.
Yeah. So, gradually, again, it's always a sandhya. Things don't happen abruptly. Gradually, 10,000 years came down to 1,000 in Dwapar Yuga, and then now in Kali Yuga, down to 100. And in this age, the process for realizing ourselves, for gaining all the knowledge that we discussed earlier, knowledge of Ishvara, knowledge of Jiva, knowledge of the Prakriti, knowledge of Kala, and understanding what to do and what not to do, karma, that is all achieved very easily by this process of Krishna consciousness, this bhakti yoga process. If we seriously engage in this simple process, then all of the knowledge that we need to live life properly and achieve the highest goal is revealed to us. It's already there. There's nothing beyond what we've been given. It's not that Prabhupada just gave us something and then you have to go and find more. No, everything is there in Prabhupada's books. If we read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, everything is there that we need, all the knowledge that we need for making rapid progress. And we have to make rapid progress in this age because, again, we don't live very long. You're lucky if you get to 100. Actually, my dear departed godbrother Suradas, he used to tease Maharaj because, he came after us. A very interesting character. He was a sannyasi. I may have told the story before, but he was a sannyasi right here in New York in a different organization, an impersonal school.
Sora?
No, not Sura. Amalabhakta Maharaj.
Oh, Amalabhakta.
Yes, he was a sannyasi in an impersonal organization. He had a yoga studio here in Manhattan, and two of his disciples, followers, Brigupati and Dravida, they became Hare Krishna devotees, and they convinced him to become a Hare Krishna. So he said he literally had to incognito run away from his organization because he was already a sannyasi in this impersonal movement. He already had a temple in India, and so he was a big wig, and now one of their big wigs becomes a Hare Krishna. It was he had to literally run away. So he came to Los Angeles. He met Prabhupada, got initiated. So we don't have a lot of time. That's the main takeaway from understanding how the progression of yugas go. In the Kali Yuga, we do not have a lot of time. Even if you live to 100. My mother is from a family of 8. She passed away already quite a few years ago at age 87. But her older brother, she's a second. She has an elder brother. He's still alive. He's probably 96 this year, I think. I haven't seen him in a long time. Apparently, he's still in good shape externally, but the mind is going. Can't remember even his offspring. If sees you 5 minutes later, you just get, no. I've been here for an hour, we've been talking to each other. Like that, the mind goes. So gradually everything deteriorates. Everything deteriorates. And that's mentioned in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasyanudinam dharma satyam socham shamadaya. Kalina balina rajan Nang Chatyahu Balam Smritihi. They're day by day, these things go down. And what goes down? First thing is Satyam, truthfulness, Socham, cleanliness, Dharma, real religiosity or spirituality. All of these things gradually go down. And why is that? Kalina, Balina, Raja. By the strength, the power of this age of Kali. Because we're being pushed along by the winds of change, as we say in English. And we haven't, just like we can't control the wind, we cannot control the flow of Kali Yuga, the debilitating effect that it has on everything. But what we can control is what we do. And that's why Prabhupada took so much trouble to write these books, to convince each and every one of us how to act, what to do, what not to do, to get the best results. To again join the eternal pastime of Radha and Krishna and reawaken our attraction for them, our love for them, and thus experience the happiness that we're hankering for at every moment. Happiness is not, again, something sporadic that we should be satisfied once in a while. We feel a little happiness, but the rest of everything. No, Prabhupada actually said once, he said, if you're morose, if you're practicing Krishna consciousness, this chanting process, chanting, dancing, taking prasadam, hearing some philosophy, that's all it is. That's those four things. Chant, dance, take prasadam. Prasadam means whatever you eat, you should offer before you eat it. And hear some philosophy, something about Krishna, either what Krishna said himself in Bhagavad Gita or what's spoken about Krishna in books like Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you do that, naturally, gradually, every day you should feel more and more ecstatic. So Prabhupada said, if you're not experiencing that, if you're feeling morose, there is nothing wrong with the process. There's something wrong with the way you're practicing it. So we have to be introspective as we go along the path of Bhakti Yoga. We have to be introspective. Am I practicing properly in the way it's recommended? And that goes for anything. If you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, there are recommendations, things that you should do, things you should not do. So if you don't do that, you can't expect to be a lawyer or a doctor in good standing. You have to more or less follow the recommendations of your predecessors who have experienced on that path. So the acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, they are those experienced persons who can guide everybody how to properly practice this particular yoga system, Bhakti Yoga, so that we'll get the best results as soon as possible. Because although we are eternal, our situations that we are in currently are not eternal. The body is not eternal, our socioeconomic standing is not eternal. We've seen in our lifetime, at least I have, how quickly somebody's socioeconomic situation can change. You're riding high, making six figures, and then just one little thing changes in society, and or even retire, like my mother. She, when I was a youngster, she was a school teacher, but then she went into the insurance business and did quite well and retired with good income. But then the dot-com phenomenon came along, and the fund manager for her retirement funds gambled away more than 50% of the worth of the fund. So from thinking that everything is all right, she all of a sudden has to start worrying again about finances. So that's the nature of this material world. Nothing is ever fixed. You can't say, now I've got it together. I've got so much money in the bank and I've got nice relationship. It's not fixed. It's on a shaky platform. And at any moment, as we say in English, somebody can pull the rug out from under you. And it's not if, it's a question of when. It's not a question of if. As we said, and Krishna is trying to convince us here in this 8th chapter, to think of him at the end of life, Antakali. At the end of life, we're supposed to think of Krishna. And if we think of Krishna, we'll go to Krishna. If we don't think of Krishna, if we don't think of God, then there's a good chance we may think of dog, unfortunately. Like Prabhupada said about one former Prime Minister of India, he said, astrologically it was determined that after his death he became a dog in Sweden. So we have to be very careful how we prosecute our Bhakti Yoga, our Krishna consciousness, if we want to attain. And Prabhupada said, just sacrifice this one life. For so many lifetimes you've done your thing, whatever you wanted to do. And the end result is that you have to take birth again. as evidenced by the fact that we're all here. We have to take birth again in this miserable material world. So Prabhupada said, just sacrifice this one life. Do what's recommended by the acharyas, by the scriptures, and see what happens. And see what happens. And we experience that it's actually a very happy life. If you follow the principles, recommended principles for Bhakti Yoga, it's a very happy life. You're not implicated in animal killing. You have a nice vegetarian, prasadarian diet. You're not poisoning yourself with intoxication. You don't implicate yourself in all kinds of ill effects of gambling or illicit sex. You're free, practically. Just by following those principles, you become free from so much misery in this world. And then positively chanting Hare Krishna, associating with nice devotees. Where is the loss? There is no loss. It's a very, very happy lifestyle. And in this age, in particular, it's recommended by Lord Chaitanya that you stay in your position. It's not that you have to move in a temple and shave your head. And no. Those of us who have taken it as a lifetime mission to help Srila Prabhupada to spread Krishna consciousness, that's what we do. We live in a temple community, and we dress a certain way and certain internal practices. But it's not that the whole world has to move into a Hare Krishna temple. You can stay in your position as a lawyer, doctor, bus driver, whatever your profession is. Stay in that profession and just add this Krishna consciousness, which means, first and foremost, adding the chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Recommended minimum is 16 rounds a day. Everybody here must have seen beads at some point. If you don't already have some beads, I'm sure you have some here that they can purchase. 108 beads on the string, 16 rounds takes about 2 hours a day. Everybody can afford that. What do you mean? Well, no, I'm so busy. So Prabhupada said, okay, this is Prabhupada's formula, not my formula. Everybody eats 3 times a day, most people. You eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Before breakfast, chant 4 rounds. Takes about a half an hour. And then, before lunch, you chant another 4 rounds. Now you're up to 8 rounds. Before supper, chant another 4. Now you're up to 12 rounds. And between supper and going to sleep, you can squeeze in another 4 rounds. So there's no excuse. Everybody can chant. It's just a matter, it's not that those who are chanting 16 rounds get an extra 2 hours every day. No, everybody gets the same 24 hours. How you divide it up is up to you. Do you sleep extra? Do you waste time on the internet? Guaranteed, everybody on this planet can find 2 hours to chant 16 rounds every day. Just tighten up the schedule a little bit. Don't space out or space in. There are 2 kinds of spacing. Spacing out, everything that's going on, you're checking out, everything in the store window, everybody who goes by. And then there's spacing in, remembering things that you did in the past or thinking of things you want to do in the future. So don't do either one. Don't space in, don't space out. Stay in the present, as we said in the beginning. Stay in the present. And the best way to stay in the present is keep your hand on those beads. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Thank you for your kind attention. Any questions or comments? And then I'll just take a few minutes to say something about my trip since the last time I saw you. Yes, Chandra.
I got a comment. What's Srila Prabhupada said that Nehru took birth as a dog in his next life?
What did he say?
What Srila Prabhupada said that Nehru took birth as a dog in his next life in Sweden.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that, but
It's asking what did he say?
but if this was told to anyone who's like new to Krishna consciousness or not convinced about Krishna consciousness in the practice, it would be something that's like, oh, this is really too much.
No, I think any thoughtful person can understand that life is a continuum. If you can't accept that, then whatever conclusions you're coming to are off the wall.
Yeah.
It doesn't begin at birth and it doesn't end at death. So the question then becomes, where did I come from in the previous life and where am I going in the next life? Now, there are many people who say they believe in reincarnation, but they always believe that they're going to come back as something fantastic.
Yeah.
Queen of England or,
Something.
or a very, big business person, always something very big. They don't consider the fact that depending on your activities in this life, it could be something not so good. Because there's life there. There's life in the dog. You can't deny that. There's life in the tree, life in the ant. Everywhere there's life, there's a soul. So the soul can inhabit any one of 8,400,000 types of bodies in this material world. So yes, if you really want to come back as a queen, you can, but then you have to qualify yourself to come back as a queen. If you want to come back as Brahma, you can. And Krishna discusses that in the Bhagavad Gita. Yanti deva vratan devam prityanti prativrataha. If you want to become a demigod, you can. Just worship the demigods. And you'll take birth amongst the demigods. If you want to, you're so attached to your forefathers, like there are many cultures, they're very, very attached to their forefathers. So if you worship your forefathers, then you'll take birth wherever the forefathers are. Some cultures, still on this planet, to this very day, they worship ghosts and spirits. Bhutani yanti bhuteja. They worship ghosts, because ghosts are more powerful than human beings. They can control humans, they can go anywhere in an instant, they can do all kinds of fantastic things. And some people are aware of that, so they think if they worship a ghost, and usually they use them for nefarious purposes. I worship the ghost, but I ask the ghost to go and kill my enemy or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you worship ghosts, then you'll take birth amongst the ghosts. But Krishna says, if you worship me, then you come to me. Now out of all those choices, which seems the best? Again, if you're a little bit thoughtful, you want to go to Krishna and be with Krishna eternally. Play with Krishna, dance with Krishna, eat with Krishna, all of that is possible. So at every moment we have to make conscious choices. Prabhupada used to say, you can't be Krishna conscious if you're not conscious. So the first thing is be conscious. Be conscious of who you are, where you are, what time it is. Like we always looking at the smartphone, we want to know what time it is. So what time is it in the cycle? We're just hearing now about Sahasra Yuga Paryantam, that Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma. By Vedic calculation, our Lord Brahma, again, he lives 100 years by his calculation, but it's 311 trillion plus years by our calculation. He's in his 51st year right now, by Vedic calculation. So know what time it is and who you are and where you're going, where you should go, like that. It's just like with the subway. There's so many subways from A to Z, and from 1 to whoever, 9 or 7 or whatever, where it stops. So if you want to go somewhere, you have to know, which train do I get on? The A train, the C train, the F train, the 1 train, the 7 train. You have to know. So human life is meant for that. It's meant for knowledge, knowing where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. So that's what's being presented here by Krishna to Arjuna. He's telling us, all of us, you're in this material world. You've taken birth. Jatasya dhruvam dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For everyone who's taken birth, death is certain. So before death comes, what can you do to make sure you don't take birth again? That's the whole program. Don't want to take birth again. Prabhupada said, don't be lazy, because as we see, things have deteriorated so much already in the 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga, as we heard from this purport, lasts for 432,000 years. So there's another 427,000 years to go to the end of Kali Yuga. And it's so bad already. Can you imagine? You can't imagine. The duration of life is going to get so low that if you live to be 40 years old, it's stated in the Bhagavatam, people think you're a grand old man. And there will be no fruit, there will be practically nothing vegetable to eat. So they'll just be killing each other and killing whatever few animals are left to eat. Everybody will be forced to a non-veg diet because of sinful activities. So we have to know where we are, where we want to go, and how to get there. So this Krishna consciousness movement is the means for getting out of this mess. There are no material solutions to material problems, only spiritual solutions. This is a mistake that even intelligent people make. They think if we just get together and make this commission and this, think tank, and we can figure out how to solve it. No, you can't. It's the flow of the age. It's just like if you go to a very fast moving river. You can't stop it. It's just going to keep going. You jump in, it's going to push you and take you along. To get upstream is very difficult. You have to have the right craft and the right amount of energy to go against the flow. So to take to Krishna consciousness means you're going against the flow of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means sinful activities, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex. So if you declare that, no, I don't want this, then you're going against the grain and it may not feel comfortable. We just like to fit in, and that's our nature. We want to fit in, but we should want to fit in to the spiritual nature, not the material nature, at this time especially. To fit in here means that you're doing something wrong. We want to get out. All right, so since I saw you last, and I mentioned this as I travel because I recommend ISKCON tourism. Prabhupada started from this very storefront. He started an international society for Krishna consciousness. And in those days, people were wondering, international? He's got one little storefront. But Prabhupada could see. Sri Kalagya, he could see the future. So now there are more than 650 ISKCON centers worldwide. And I've been, by Krishna's grace, to many of them. So on this last trip, I went first of all to Slovenia, capital Ljubljana. Very nice temple there. I have actually, I thought you had a big screen here. I was going to connect my computer and show you some pictures. But anyway, you can go on my Facebook page. I post my pictures there. So, yeah, very nice. I first went to Ljubljana in 1998, and they're still in the same building. It's kind of interesting building because it was a cultural center, and so when you look at this building from the outside, there's a big sculpture of a naked man coming through a hole. The symbolism is like escaping from, war, as a war prisoner or something like that. But anyway, when the devotees bought that building, they had to promise not to remove that statue. So it's one of the few ISKCON centers you go, you see a literally naked statue of a naked man, everything showing, walking through a hole in a column. So anyway, the devotees there, they do very fast. Slovenia is a country of just a little more than 2 million people. Literally, that's like one corner of one borough of New York.
Formerly part of Yugoslavia, right?
Yeah, it's part of the entire former Yugoslavia, which is now broken into actually 6 countries, maybe 7 if you count Kosovo. All of that fits into the state of California. Just to give you reference.
Yeah.
So Slovenia is the northernmost part, and the devotees there have been doing fantastic preaching for many years. Like I said, the first time I went there was 1998, and they have a nice restaurant there, very vibrant programs, and then after a week in Slovenia, then I went to Croatia first, to Rijeka, Pula, Zagreb. Again, nice devotees. Going through a bit of upheaval in terms of management, but still very nice devotees doing nice preaching, nice prasadam outreach, especially in Zagreb. And then from Zagreb, I flew to Barcelona, my first time ever in Spain. I have been calculating that. I've been to every European country except for 2, Spain and Portugal. So I said, on this trip, I'm going to at least go to one of those. So I went to Spain. And Barcelona, very, very vibrant community, right in the center. If you ever go to Barcelona, you can't miss. There's a very tall column with Columbus on top. Just like in London, they have the Nelson column, so they have the Columbus column. So if you want to find a temple, you just find the Columbus column, turn your back to the ocean, there's a pier, and then just follow, there's an avenue, Las Ramblas, you just follow that. And when you get somewhere in the center, the temple is right there. So very, very central location. Not so easy to find though, because they share, they have one floor of a building and there's no big Hare Krishna sign outside, so you have to kind of know where you're going. But very nice, good to do Harinam there because there's a constant flow of tourists come to Barcelona. And book distribution goes on very nicely also. And then from there by train I went to Guadalajara. And from Guadalajara, a little short car ride to Nueva Brajamandala, New Brajamandala. Now this is a huge property. This is one of the many chateaus that were bought by Bhagavan when he was at his heyday. Some of them are still around. That one is one of them. That chateau used to belong to a personal servant of the King of Spain.
Where about?
It's near a little village called Brihuega. Yeah, but you get down on the train in Guadalajara, and then it's about a half an hour drive. And but they have so much land. It's huge property, like halfway up the side of a hill, and just huge property. But the government restricts them. They can't. They would love to build, homes for grihastas and stuff, but by law they can't do that. So they have the chateau, which has a few homes on it, and then there's a big farm and big garden, but they just can't develop it as they would like to because the government has zoning restrictions. And so yeah, very nice community if you get a chance to visit. They have a lot of retreats there and seminars and stuff like that. And then from there by car I went to Madrid. Now Madrid is very small. At the street level, the temple. It's in a central area. It's compared to what the Bowery was when they first got the temple maybe 20 years ago. That area was like the Bowery was when Prabhupada came to New York. Just junkies passed out all over the place. But since then it's been brought upscale. So when you get to the temple on the first, just like you come in the front door here, there's a space for a restaurant. And then the temple is actually down in the basement, a very tiny temple. But again, a very vibrant community. Every day they do prasadam distribution, book distribution, and it's very nice. So like I said, I recommend if you get the opportunity, do ISKCON tourism. Travel anywhere in the world. Every major city has an ISKCON temple, and many smaller cities and villages even. So much to see out there. And Prabhupada, this is the fructification of Prabhupada's desire to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So, if we stay just in one little place, we tend to get caught up in the local problems and politics and whatnot. But when you go out and you see how vibrant ISKCON is all over the world, then you realize this is just a small part. It's the most important part. As I travel, I also tell all the devotees, you must come to New York. Just like every good Muslim has to go to Mecca at least once in their life. Every good Hare Krishna has to come to New York at least once in their life. To see 26 2nd Avenue, to see the tree. We just had the 59th anniversary of Prabhupada chanting under the tree in Tompkins Square Park. We were there a few days ago. So like this, New York especially is steeped in Prabhupada history. And some of the places that Prabhupada visited are still open, just like Prabhupada, we heard about Dr. Mishra. He was staying with Dr. Mishra in his ashram. There was a little supermarket where Prabhupada used to shop every day, and it's still there. It's called West End Superette. It's still there after all these years. So there's a lot of history, ISKCON history, Prabhupada history right here in New York. So I always recommend devotees from around the world come to New York. But I also recommend the New York devotees go around the world, go out there, travel, see. Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we close with Kirtan before Prasadam.
Yeah.
Would you like to lead the Kirtan?
My voice is not the best. I think your wife has a very good voice, but
So I can lead the Kirtan.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Great style of your teachings. How do we do this?
We have any devotees proficient at, Pradanga. I know you are. I forgot. Would you like to what you did there?
Oh, yeah. Would you like to? Yeah.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vachacha Disha Tarini. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Gauranga. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Gita Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gita Gora Hari Bol, Gita Gora, Gita Gora, Gita Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gita Gora Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, 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 let the door, Hari Bol. Prabhu ki, Kirtan's 22nd Avenue ki. Gita Govinda, Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
we've reached the last part of our program now, which is Prasadam Vegetarian Feast, which will be served to you. So you don't have to